It's time for Fact or Fiction, the place where we bust all the rumours and myths mentioned by you Fortnite players. Along with "where we dropping boys," "how did he get down so fast" is one of the most common phrases you'll hear as a Fortnite player, so it's time to finally put this question to bed. Is there a way to guarantee you'll land at your chosen location before every other player, giving you first choice on the loot? Let's find out. To test this theory, we're first going to have to time how long it takes to get down to the ground from the bus. There's a suggestion that opening and closing your glider while falling will speed you up, and that the angle you drop will increase your chances of getting to the location first, and another saying that aiming for low ground will open your glider later, thus means you have less distance to glide down, making you faster. To do all this, we're going to need to play a lot of games, but before we get into this, it's worth pointing out that the glider constantly falls at the same speed, so if you're static and just floating down, it's the exact same drop speed as if you were moving around in your glider. Okay, now that that's off my chest, let's test. So first up is a direct fall from the bus. We'll aim for just outside of Junk Junction. Okay, so jumping out of the bus and heading straight for the ground takes approximately 12 seconds for the glider to open. Then if we just leave the glider like so and float down, it takes a further 19 seconds before our feet are on the ground, making it a total of around 30 seconds. But what about the height difference? Before we test this, it's good to know that buildings, trees and hills do affect your glider deployment height, so it's best to drop down on the lowest point possible, approximately a square away from your target POI. Here we have two people dropping out of the battle bus at identical times. One heads for the sea and will swoop into land on the mansion, and the other player will simply dive straight down to it, float above it and then land. Let's see who's quicker. As you can see, the player who drifted off the map actually opens their glider later than the player who didn't, giving them a 3-second advantage before their enemy even touches the ground. This confirms it's better to head in from the lowest point on the map, but we all knew that, right? Another test is to have two of us aim for the same POI at the same time, but one player dropping directly on top of it and another player dropping 1 square away on the map. But if we watch a drop at 1.5 squares, it seems to be the most advantageous, allowing you to glide in and take the loot before anyone else. We tried 2 squares at glider deployment, but this cut us short by a lot. And don't forget, if your POI has large buildings like Tilted, you're going to need to deploy a little further back. It's technically an earlier land. So using these techniques together by dodging buildings and deploying it around 1.5 squares out, you can actually land faster than any other player, making this a fact. Here's a clip of us doing it in a real game. Tilted, as you know, is a very popular location, so landing at the lowest point first and drifting in makes us one of the first players in the building. So to clear up any confusion, I've made this terrible graph that should show you exactly the best way to land. The easiest way to land fastest at your target POI is to jump and hit the glider deployment level at 1.5 squares away. This will allow you to glide in at the perfect angle and speed. Ejecting anything outside of 1.5 squares will cut you short. Anything later will make you considerably slower than your enemies. So no, before you ask, different gliders do not provide any gameplay advantages. They're cosmetic only, even if some do boast a distinctive sound effect that might give you a heads up if someone's nearby. So ignore the myth makers, it's hard cold facts that will pave your way to Victory Royale in Fortnite. So if there's anything you need to take from this video, remember 1.5 squares and aim for low glider deploy points at this mark. For example, rivers, bottom of the hills, and even gaps between buildings. So there you have it, thanks for checking out this video. Make sure to click the boxes on the left for more Fortnite content from us, and don't forget to smack the button in the middle to get yourself subscribed to the Games Radar YouTube channel.